All right, Jeff. So you'll type in "go" for me then.
Yeah, now.
And hey there, hi there, ho there, hello there. Welcome back to another exciting edition of the Cardinal Couple Radio Hour podcast, where we discuss the joy and excitement of UofL women's athletics. We certainly had some very exciting things go down this week with Cardinal women's athletics. We'll be talking a little volleyball today. We'll be talking some women's basketball, and we'll even talk field hockey, although not very much and not very long, as the Cards had three of their major sports in action this week, and a lot of fun. And we've got three on the broadcast today. How about that? As we've got definitely have Jeff McAdams, who's kind of engineering things today and taking care of stuff. So, Jeff, what's going on, man? That was exciting volleyball last night.
Well, yeah, except for the 25-minute delay while they, tried to fix their floor.
Yeah. What was the situation there? I mean, I thought there was an injury or something because I had to step away and was following
following on it. Yeah, for people following on stats, just like live stats, it had to be mystifying what was going on because there was just no indication. Yeah, no, they had something. The floor was getting really, really slick. Right at the beginning of the third set, it was 2-1, scores 2-1. And the floor was getting slick. People were slipping and sliding and falling down. So, I mean, they needed to do something. They needed to pause the match and deal with it, whatever it was. I'm not exactly sure. I don't think it was just a moisture issue. O'Keefe Gymnasium is not air conditioned, to my knowledge. So there could have been a buildup of moisture, but I think there was something more going on than that because they had wet mops out there, which, you wouldn't want a wet mop if you're trying to dry out the floor. But they had wet mops out there. I don't know if some sort of oil or something had been put down on it and they were trying to get it cleaned off or something. I have no idea, but it was about a 25 minute delay. And then they let the teams warm up again, which is probably good, before they continued the match at 2-1 in the third set. So it turned out to be a great break for the Cards too, because, came back strong after that.
It was kind of a turnaround, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And maybe Georgia Tech athletics might want to rethink playing games there. Maybe
do something that maybe it just needs to be air conditioned.
Could have been an air conditioning issue. You're right. It could have been the humidity was high in Atlanta.
Yeah.
In any event, it was kind of a turning point in the game for
it was.
The matches. Louisville roared back after that and said, "Okay, you want to make our floor wet? That's fine, no problem. We're still going to beat you, okay?"
Yeah.
So, Eddie, what else is going on with you, Jeff?
Same old. It's been a week, basketball week. We've had a couple of basketball games this week, so that's kind of been cool. A couple of good wins we'll talk about there later. So getting down to KFC Center, seeing people I haven't seen since, March. It's just kind of a bit of a spirit lifting sort of week with all of that going on, and beautiful weather for most of the week. I loved,
beautiful weather till this morning.
But,
Anyway,
yeah,
it was kind of neat watching the snow fall out my den window this morning while I was typing today's article. I found out at about 9:15 that no one had the right today. So,
I don't know what happened there because I would have gladly taken that, but I thought when we were first discussing this that Case had already arranged for somebody to do today's, because I would have jumped on it. I would have done it. I just didn't realize it.
Yeah, I thought that we were covered for today as well.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe my memory's faulty on that. I don't know, but
you're dealing with Mr. Sonality here, So
yeah.
It's where I've got to, I've either got to have Sonia or Daryl on a game with me now to make sure, first of all, I get to the court. Second of all, I'm watching the right things.
Yeah.
Because Daryl had to turn me around at the game Thursday. I was watching the pep band for like 20 minutes.
Well, the pep band's entertaining.
Paulie, do 180. The action's over here. Oh, okay.
I mean, the pep band is entertaining, so
Oh, and they can be.
Yeah.
Speaking of Daryl, we got Daryl on the broadcast with us today. Daryl, what's going on, Daryl? What about that game Thursday night for the Cards?
Morning, guys. Yeah, it was good to get back out there. I was thinking about it. I don't think I've been in the media room for basketball in years since COVID, for sure. So it's kind of hard to think that I haven't been back there for 2.5 years. That's just bizarre to me. So I appreciate you inviting me out, and Cards getting a win. And it's kind of like a big week for me too. Just closing some doors and opening some other ones, and it just cracks me up that I was on the top of the parking garage in downtown Louisville sweating on Wednesday, and here we are, and I have 2 blankets, turn the heat on, and it's Lulu's first snow on Saturday. So
Well, has she ventured out into the weather yet?
she's not an outdoor cat, but she
Okay.
did see something falling. Like she was looking at the window, like something was out there, and that's when I opened it and was like, "Holy crap! I can't believe it's snowing!" And so yeah, so she's looking out there, wondering what the heck that is, and if she can eat it.
Uh, Good cat response. You can't deny that for sure. Hey, as for me, yeah, it has been an action-packed week for UofL athletics. I've been following quite a few things. Of course, was at the game Thursday with Daryl, and then Friday watching with great interest volleyball last night. I did watch the entire UofL field hockey match against Penn State, and after a couple hours of therapy, I was ready for volleyball.
Yeah.
Other than that, yeah, just actually been having just a little bit of difficulty with some of my medication management as my blood pressure dropped really, really low a couple of days ago and was feeling kind of lightheaded and ready to black out. So
Well,
a phone call definitely made some adjustments on that and feeling much better today and ready to talk with you. But so we're going to have a fun show today. We're going to talk about a lot of good things, and we're going to start it out as we usually do, kids, with scheduling and Twitter information. I'll go to Case. No, Case isn't here today. Well, Jared will fill in. No, Jared isn't here today. Paulie's going to do scheduling and Twitter for you, and certainly this would be a good time if you need to go make a sandwich or get a cup of coffee and come back in about 5
Oh
minutes.
my God, Paul! I am literally eating a sandwich and drinking coffee. I need to go get
Daryl and I have got this weird kind of ESP going through us over the last 48 hours.
At first, I thought my video was on. Like, holy crap! Stop picking my nose over here.
We were finishing each other's thoughts at the game and everything else on Thursday, and now I know Daryl's eating the sandwich. And I'm not going to tell you all what I see Jeff doing in my mind's eye right now.
We're all
Just
synced up.
yeah, we are a G-rated show, but so let's jump right on into Daryl finishes her sandwich, and I'm not going to venture on what you're eating, but that's fine. Let's start out with today, by golly, where football has gone down to Clemson and taken Jared Anderson with them hostage. As a matter of fact, no, Jared is down there taking photos for the game, meeting up with his future family as the Cards will play Clemson at 3:30. They're listing this one as a ESPN contest. So certainly, let's hope the Cards can go down there. Clemson's been kind of a nemesis. Yeah, that's the word. It has been a foe of ours that we haven't been able to quite get by lately over the past couple of years. But let's certainly hope that they can do that today and get a win down at Clemson. Wouldn't that be sweet to disappoint those 70,000 people? It could be fun indeed. Men's basketball looks to get a win. They're actually playing at 1 o'clock today versus Wright State at the KFC Center. So we'll see what happens for the Cards as Kenny Payne trying to whip these guys into some kind of playing shape here and see what they can do. And then, of course, some of the other things that are going on. Let's go ahead and move on over, I think, to Sunday, where Sunday rowing will be in the Riviera Romp in Charlottesville, Virginia. That's the home of the University of Virginia. They'll take part in that. Volleyball, we'll go to North Carolina, Chapel Hill, to take on those Tar Heels. That's a 1 p.m. game. They don't really list who's going to show that. My guess is going to be probably ACC Network Extra.
I would presume.
But that's usually what it is for that, if they don't have something out there. But maybe they'll get something nationwide. Who knows? Cards going to be played at North Carolina, and then women's basketball is in Belmont. No, not at the racetrack. It's not the third round of the Triple Crown. It's in Nashville, Tennessee. Belmont University, where the Cards will play at 5 p.m. against the Belmont squad. And I want to call them the Bruins. That might be right. That might not. I think I remember them being the Bruins.
Sounds right.
That sounds right. Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. I was going to call them, the Belmont Stakes, but then again, it would confuse a lot of people. So we'll see what happens with that. Hopefully the Cards will be able to go down there. And Jeff Wallace expressed a little bit of worry and a little bit of concern about this one in his post-game talk with the media on Thursday night. We'll see. This Cardinal team looks awfully good right now. I don't think they're going to have much trouble at Belmont, but I've been wrong before. Skipping to Monday, there's nothing, absolutely nothing going on in the world Monday. No, there's nothing going on with UofL women's athletics on Monday, so we'll skip by that and go right on over to Tuesday. Men's basketball takes on App State. No, they're not going to play Scott Satterfield and his staff. It's the actual App State University squad. That'll be the 6 p.m. game. Certainly, I hope the Cards are on a one-game win streak by then as they get ready to take on App State. And then moving over to Thursday, swimming is up at the Purdue Invitational, held in West Lafayette, Indiana. Best of luck to the Cards up there as they get ready to face Purdue and a couple of other squads up there swimming in those waters. Let's take it on over to Thursday here, and we've got swim still in that meet over there at West Lafayette and the Purdue Invitational. That's the only other thing I'm showing on Thursday. And then we'll take a look at Friday once again for the third day. They'll still be swimming in Purdue, and they've got to be tired by now. But they're still swimming at Purdue at the Purdue Invitational. Other events that are going on, volleyball. Pittsburgh comes to town. Friday night fight. That's right.
Big match.
They're going to be coming into the LNFCU, unless that hasn't changed, has it, Jeff? I didn't think it did.
No, it's still in an LNFC. Yeah.
Okay, so that's a 6 p.m. match. Kind of surprised at the early start of that. I've got to figure the ACC is probably trying to tie it in with some other maybe matches that night or something.
Possibly. It's also, is that the day before Thanksgiving?
Yeah. I mean, it's a 6 p.m. match, so normally we're used to seeing these at 7.
No, it's Friday. Okay, so it's the Friday match. Yeah,
it
is on ACC Network linear.
Okay.
So that could be, that would explain the 6 p.m. start.
That's what they like to do sometimes. They'll try to stack a couple matches.
Because they'll do a 6 o'clock and an 8 o'clock. Yeah.
And we're always gracious and say, oh, sure, we'll start at no problem. Yeah. But you can expect a full house for that one as the Panthers come in seeking a little bit of revenge for Louisville beating them up there in the previous match this season. So could be a barn burner. I don't know how much more exciting it could get than the one we had last night, but certainly when you're playing Pittsburgh, there's always a great deal of competition and always a pretty close match for the Cards. Okay. So that will get us through the scheduling part of things. We'll move on over to Twitter now, and if you want to follow us on Twitter, certainly do so. We have a lot of good things up there from all 5 of us, and certainly some of the things that we like to do on Twitter also is give you updates on events that you may not be able to watch, scores and such. So, Cardinal Couple is always a fun site to follow, and that's my handle as well, at Cardinal Couple, and I'll put a lot of stuff like that up there for you. Jeff comes at you with a couple of Twitter addresses, and Jeff McAdam is where he does techie stuff and junk like that about his job related. And it can be a fun read if you understand that language. I look at some of those tweets and I'm like, I wish Jeff would put a disclaimer down there. If you do not understand this language, please call me and I will give you the. No, never mind. Jeff likes to do a little bit of that, and of course he also goes under as Card Couple Radio, where he we'll talk about UofL sporting events and women's sporting events and sometimes live updates from games, but you usually don't see much out of him at volleyball until it's a break like halftime or something like that because he's too busy leading chairs and wrestling Louis at midcourt as they have a lot of fun out there for the home matches at the LNFCU. Daryl in the house today. Daryl Faust 4 is her Twitter handle. Daryl can bring out a lot of interesting things about her own life, about UofL athletics, about other things. Daryl, what's the last tweet you put out?
Oh my gosh, I don't even know.
See, there you go. She is
I've been trying to delete my tweets.
she's an unconscious Twitter handle and such all that. But yeah, follow Daryl. Occasionally she'll surprise you with something. Not with us today. Jared Anderson, who goes as Mr. Anderson Jared, and you can follow him. He has a lot of pictures and a lot of results on actually all UofL sports, since he also does some sideline work with another website on men's sports. He puts up a lot of great pictures. And, of course, the obligatory selfies. I think his count so far down in Clemson is 14. He's trying to break a one-day record by taking selfies at him. not only through breakfast, but then through lunch. And as he goes over to the stadium, selfies of him driving to the game.
I don't know what the over under is, but I'll take the over.
Let's say we have to set an over under for that. I'm going to say 20.
Yeah, I'm taking the over.
Yeah,
There's no doubt there.
It sounds like a good bet, Jeff. But then again, he may get inside there and be so intimidated by that Clemson crowd, he may just drop, his phone and go.
And the speakers that they pipe in crowd noise with.
Oh yeah. Having gone to 2 of those matches down there in my earlier years, let me tell you, it is one crazy, wild atmosphere inside that stadium, especially when you're sitting in this small little group of about 14 Louisville fans, right in the heart of some loud Clemson folks. I'm fortunate I got out alive, honestly. Thank you. But that should be some fun. Last but not least, Case Hoskins. You can follow him on Best Case Scenario. That's BST Case Scenario. Case will tweet about a lot of things related to his work and also about UofL athletics. So all of us are always a fun follow on Twitter, and we invite you to do so. And we'll see what the Twitter looks like in our future. As there have been some changes with Twitter, but certainly as of now, we're still on there, and we'll see what happens with it.
I do have a Mastodon account that I've set up to start kind of building a presence there. So for what it's worth, I'm at JeffM at sdf.land. So if anybody's playing around with Mastodon, you can find me there.
I've never even heard of that.
Yeah, it's a
that me getting older.
It's an open source, open standard, federated system that's Twitter-esque in its form. So yeah.
Have y'all seen that meme where Homer Simpson's like backing into the bush?
Yeah.
That's me on Twitter. I'm just slowly disappearing out of that verse.
It's it's been interesting to watch. I say interesting in the Chinese curse sort of way. What's going on with that organization?
It had a good run.
Yeah.
Good in quotes.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sometimes on Twitter, I have to kind of bite my tongue, walk away for 20, 30 minutes when I see something on there that I just totally disagree with. And
for sure,
first response is to just blast the person who sent the tweet all the way across the street. But then you got to kind of stop and think, okay, even morons have their day. Let's let them have some fun with it. Yep. I'll just, I'll take the higher road here and not say anything. But okay, enough fun on Twitter there. Certainly follow us if you will, though. We would appreciate that so very much. As we're ready to roll on into the meat and bones of the show now. I got through scheduling and Twitter with very few errors. I'm very proud of myself. Let's move on then to see what's been going on here is Louisville women's basketball. Certainly a team that we need to talk about a little bit here. Can we talk? Yes, we can. We can talk about these cards because Louisville came out and played very, very well against I'm going to say it's an IUPU team that, quite honestly, they've got talent. They've got some really good ball players. I'm still going to call them a mid-major, but they did give the Cards a couple of worries and concerns during this contest. An 84-62 win for Louisville.
They've got some good shooters down there.
And they definitely have some three-point shooters, which Jeff Walls addressed as well. But I'm going to let Daryl kind of take the run on this. She was there with the game at me, wrote a very, very nice article. If you all want to go check that out in the Friday Cardinal Couple about the contest. And I've got a couple readers who just love it whenever Daryl writes. And they send me messages. You should let Daryl write every day. We love to read Daryl's recaps on games. They're so much better than yours.
Paul's like, believe me, I'm trying.
Yeah, I take my Sundays all you want, That's
but believe me, I just as soon sit here and go through and spell check stuff. Okay, but Daryl, thoughts and observations on the win to take the Cards to 2-0?
Yeah. So I mean, I was never really worried about this one. I feel like after Monday's game, there were a few little kinks to work out, such as just some free throw issues, in my opinion, on Monday weren't an issue on Thursday. So it just wasn't a good matchup. I think that U of L way outsized IUPUI, and it just kind of showed throughout the game. And they got to a 10-0 start. I thought it was kind of ironic that the game started with 2 free throws for the Cards. And Morgan Jones nailed them. She had like I think 13 attempts on Monday, just a couple on Thursday. She her night was cut short when she fell to the ground and bumped her head a little bit, but we didn't really need her, so Coach Walls opted to not put her back in after that fall and let some other ladies get some playing time. So it was fun to be down there on the sidelines and listen to the communication of this team. I wasn't really able to do that when I was in the stands on Monday. So I just had a few players that stood out to me as being leaders. Mikasa Robinson is huge leader for this team. You can see it in the pregame warm-ups. You could see her mingling with fans and giving hugs. And I mean, these are people she recognizes and has recognized for years. So she's acknowledging fans while she's warming up with the rest of the team. And it just stood out to me as being just a leader. And she would go to each little cluster of the players as they were warming up, getting shots up and encourage them and give them a pat on the back. And just, she was not shy at all. So that stood out to me as Mikasa really being the leader on this team, whether she's on the court or not. Some other names that stood out, obviously Nyla Harris comes in and makes her presence known. I just took a trip to the bathroom and all of that happened. I come back and I was like, you missed 9-0 run from Nyla, and I totally did. Thought I was safe going at the beginning of whatever quarter it was. But and then you got your Haley Van Lith and Olivia Cochran combination, which I love to see. But the new girls, Cece had a huge third quarter. 10 of her 15 points were in the third quarter. She was 4 for 4, and we were making jokes about the wheels didn't fall off the car yet. So fans should be encouraged by this win, and I know we talked a little bit about coming up this weekend against Belmont, but got a few games on the road and before they come back to town, so it'll be a good test. I liked the bigs here. I liked the rotation of minutes with Olivia, Liz Dixon, and Josie. I think Josie is she got about 10 minutes. She's not as she doesn't have much of a force as the other two, but she'll get there throughout the season. I think it's encouraging to get a fresh set of legs and a big body in there to give the other ladies a break. And she can still hold her own. She's not quite as polished as Emily Angsler was when she came in, and as exciting. But I think that she does hold her own under the basket and gets those putbacks that we need often. We needed that a lot, I think, in the last few years. When the one struggle UofL basketball had was down low. And if we can get somebody to consistently be able to put back those misses, Josie and Olivia can be that person. So I'm encouraged by the wins this week, and I look forward to a few more just the tough matchups. I think if Belmont's going to be a tough matchup, let's see it.
Let's bring them on. Let's see what they can do. We're going down into their den. We're coming in, and we're going to try and take that game from them. But the contest against IUPUI was a contest where the Cards jumped out to a 25-14 first quarter lead. The fans were fairly comfortable with that and looking for some great things to happen. The rest of it, Louisville did actually outscore IUPI in the second quarter too, 24-22, and the Cards with a comfortable 49-36 halftime lead. IUPI kind of said, you know what, we're not really feeling it in the third quarter. Louisville jumped out, did some things to kind of pull away even more in this one, a 20-8 third quarter for the Cards. And certainly things were in very good hands. The Cards with 69 points in the contest, and IUPI with just 44. The fourth quarter in this contest, Jeff Walls, I think, played everybody but me and Daryl in the game. It's a lot of different combinations, a lot of fun combinations working. I think Daryl did take a three later, but so The Cards lost the quarter, but it really didn't matter because they were on their way to an 84-62 win. Jeff, from your vantage viewpoint there in the bleachers, some of the things that you were impressed with and liked.
Yeah, I really look at, and Daryl kind of touched on this a little bit, the rotation of the players, the different players that we had show up at IU versus IUPUI versus Cincinnati. Haley Van Lith had, 28 against Cincinnati? 28 points. She had 12 points against IUPUI. A little bit of an off night for her, but then you have Nyla Harris step up and score 11 points in only 16 minutes of play. That's pretty impressive. Crystal Carr had a pretty off night against Cincinnati. Obviously, a debut to the Louisville crowd. All of a sudden, I'm hearing a lot of people chirping, questioning, what she's going to be like. And then she drops 15 on IUPUI. So that depth that we always love so much out of Jeff Wall's teams, I think we're seeing that is there again. Again with the bigs in the paint with Olivia Cochran, Liz Dixon, Josie Williams, all playing their role down there. It's going to be great to see. It's going to be great to watch Casa doing Casa things because she's Casa. We saw a little bit out of Jalen Brown. We saw a little bit out of Marissa Russell. So really, we're getting to see a lot of the bench, a lot of the players, and this is the time of year when we get to see what kind of the future of UofL women's basketball is going to be before they kind of settle down into a bit more tight of a rotation of substitution patterns. So it's always a lot of fun at the beginning of the season, not only because the season's new and fresh, but also because you just get to see all these different combinations and all these different players and get to know them a little bit.
Jeff, you mentioned Marissa Russell. That was another name that stood out to me as being very vocal and wanting to lead the team. I think her experience with the Canadian national team gave her a lot more confidence. She was 1 for 6 on the night. She jacked up 3 threes in the fourth quarter. Didn't hit any, but the confidence is there. And I think I alluded to it in the article of Friday that I think that one of these days those are gonna hit, and we're gonna be seeing a Marissa Russell debut, like a record or career performance from her one of these days. But she's very, very vocal. I don't know if you all have noticed, but she is asking for the ball. She's loud. I can hear her across the court. I'm really, really excited about her.
I don't get to hear much of that in RoCC, but
she's definitely all that. She even came into the media room and yelled at me for eating too much salad. That's the kind of girl she is. But
the salad police, Marissa Russell.
She's like, get some more meat on that plate and get rid of that salad.
She's like, you're already late, Polly. What are you doing?
I said, yeah, thanks to I-65 for that. I love our interstate system here in Louisville. Yes, I love our interstate system here in Louisville very, very much. But, okay, 3 stats that stood out to me. Let's take these around real quick, then we'll kind of sum up and move on to volleyball. The Cards, points in the paint. Kind of dominated a little bit, 50-18. Yeah, that's pretty good. We were working the ball outside in. We were getting some good production from it. That worked out very well for us. Louisville came out, and their turnover number did drop a little bit. I was happy to see that. It went down to 13, and they forced the Jaguars into 18 turnovers. That's pretty decent. The one that I like the best, fast break points. Louisville a 10-0 shutout of IUPUI. Yeah. We like to get it up. We like to go, and we certainly did that on Thursday night. Other stats that stood out to you, Jeff, besides those? Any other things about this game that stood out to you we haven't talked?
No, I think you kind of covered it pretty well. Walls did talk about in post-game on the radio show, and I think also with you all of the media, about three-point shooting and defending against three-point shooting. Specifically with relation to Belmont and their expected bombing from distance sort of playing style. So that'll be interesting to watch for us. So, bench points 31-26 in Louisville's favor. That's nice to see. It's a lot of bench points for both teams. So credit to the Jaguars on that. But those are the ones that I really kind of see as being big.
Jeff Walls did get a chance, Daryl, also to put in a couple of the freshmen in this contest, and we were certainly pleased to see what they could do. I think Jalen Brown has got the potential to really be something good for us once she gets into the weight room, maybe a little bit. I don't know. It was just my first thoughts about her. Nyla
Yeah.
Harris, of course, we love her to death.
She's very let's say lanky and just
Yeah.
obviously a freshman. But I think it's kind of weird to if you compare these two, but I'm gonna do it. Um, Jalen Brown kind of reminds me of Morgan Jones already, just being long, very active, have high energy, and willing to dive for and get the ball when we need it. So it's just it. I think Morgan Jones would be a good influence on Jalen, and once Jalen gets some weight on her up top, that she could be a real threat. Even if she gets stronger down low, and because there were some shots she took that the ball didn't really get there. So that just makes me think she's just not strong enough to get it there yet. But she's got time, and she put in more than 7 minutes. Did make one bucket, but she was all over the floor. So I think that's a good sign.
Tickled to also see on the media side broadcast for this one, Jess Lemley had the call of the game along with Jeff Greer on the network extra.
Cool.
Jess, is just we love Jess. She's our original attack Yorkie, one of the original ones, and just to see her sitting over there looking all cute and everything, I said, Jess, do you think you could play with this team? She looked at me and she goes, I'd be in 1 minute a game and that's it. So, good stuff out of Jess, who certainly
So
we
who
love.
was it that said is Cece our new attack Yorkie? Because they could be.
That did come up, and she's got the height requirement to bid.
I know.
Uh,
As soon as somebody said that in our group
Indeed.
chat, I looked up and I was like, "Yes, that is
Yeah.
correct."
I think
She's
it is, and I think since we've got a majority here, three of us today, I think we officially bestow the title Attack Yorkie.
I
on
think
CC.
so, yeah.
We're gonna have
I
to
mean,
let her know.
we talked
Mari's
last
gonna be
year.
like, "Explain."
Yeah, we talked last year about extending that up to 5'7" from the
Yeah,
5'6". But she
yeah, that motion
qualifies
never went
regardless.
Mm,
forward. Yeah.
Yeah.
you got to keep it. I think you got to keep it low.
Yeah. She qualifies regardless though. So yeah.
Oh yeah, she qualifies 100% for it,
Mhm.
and certainly has the same tenacious, you know, uh, mannerisms and also things that an attack Yorkie should have. Always handing people and always running as fast as she can. Sometimes not knowing where she's going, like Yorkies do sometimes. But well,
But she could bark a little more. We do need a
yes,
little bit more bark.
and you've got to wonder if that's just going to come with confidence and more time on the court with this team.
I think so,
Familiarity.
because Yorkies kind of get set in a way, and when things don't go their way, they bark, and
Yes,
that's
they do.
gonna happen.
And let's hope that we don't get into condition this year where the Cards are playing so badly that she has to do some nonstop barking at the team. Let's hope that she can
True.
just kind of smile and take care of the fast break and run the point for us. But yeah, well, a vocal's always good on the court. And if she ever has any questions about that, like Jeff Wall said, I've had to talk to Morgan Jones a little bit about her vocalness. I think it's going to pick up after our conversation.
Yep.
Oh, I would have loved to heard that joint. Say, hey, Morgan, are you mute? Yeah, let's hear you. Say something down on the court.
Yeah, he kind
Uh,
of said she was shy, Didn't he? And
yeah,
that's kind of hard to believe with the way that she plays because
Yeah.
she's very energetic.
and she is kind of soft spoken. Basically, when I saw her on media day and was talking with her a little bit, the conversation that I overheard. I didn't actually interview her one on one, but I listened to another
Hmm.
interview with her. It was pretty much one sentence, one word answers like. Okay, like we didn't do this too much down in Florida State. No, I'm
That's
not
what I was
sure
gonna
about.
say. She's not
Yeah.
used to that attention.
I'm not sure about all this, and what's the deal with this slide in the corner of the gym?
Like she'd rather go down to the slide.
Do I have to go down it? I'm afraid that they're going to send me down it if I don't play well. No. So good win for the Cards. We'll see what happens at Belmont. I think we'll be fine down there, but once again, you got to go out and play it in order to get the W. Right.
Mhm.
Okay, let's go ahead and I think moving on over to a little bit of volleyball. Would be time to kind of talk about that a little bit. As number 5 Louisville went. I guess you could call it the flats down there, and that makes sense to me because they call it that for other sports. They went down to play in the O'Keefe Gym against Georgia Tech, number 13 in the nation. A match that I think a lot of people look forward to seeing the result on. You've got two top 15 teams here, a Georgia Tech team that, although they don't have all the original killer bees, they've still got a couple. And they came out and said to Louisville, you know what? Uh, we invite you all to come on in here, but we're not going to give you anything. In fact, we're going to kick your butt in the first two sets.
Yeah.
Jeff, this was a little nervous and a little disconcerting to me, I think, the way that Louisville got kind of manhandled in these first two sets. But your thoughts on it?
Yeah, really, the first two sets, Louisville, I mean, to put it bluntly, just looked terrible out there. Credit to Georgia Tech. Their transition was great. Their defense was great. Digging and passing was phenomenal. They were keeping everything alive. And just really kind of shut down the Louisville game plan, took the middles out of it, were able to hit around over through whatever they needed to do in the first two sets. And it was definitely on the ropes sort of feeling to it. They did have that big break that we talked about at the top of the show. At the very beginning of the third set. And even the color commentator on the TV stream was talking about how much that favored Louisville to kind of have that extended break in the play to kind of come back again and a little bit fresh and a kind of new set of eyes looking at it. And that certainly was the case after that break, the set break, the delay to fix the floor, whatever was wrong with it. Michelle Collier called a challenge in the first point back. So that kind of extended it to that really long extended break, almost half an hour of not playing much volleyball. Louisville kind of came back and said, all right, now we're ready. Let's go. And fairly well dominated the play the rest of the way. You never fully could dominate a team like Georgia Tech, but it would definitely look like the better team. Looked like a much different team than the first two sets after that break.
There are a number of cards that we could call out individually and laud praise upon them for the way they played. Certainly, I think you have to mention right off the bat Claire Chaussee.
Oh, yeah.
27 career high kills for her and her fourth double of the season. Put 10 digs in there, drove the bus from the hotel to the gymnasium and back, and also ordered takeout for everybody in the whole arena.
Yeah,
Claire,
On the court.
I think she flew the plane to Chapel Hill overnight too. So, yeah, I mean, she really, you say she did everything. She really digs and kills was what she did. 27 kills, 10 digs. Really, no other real stats. A few service errors, so we won't mention those.
Point out Iko Jones here, 12 kills. She did have an ace serve, and we can't forget Maya Tillman either with 11 kills and 3 blocks in there. Those three have kind of stepped up in the moving of Anna out of an outside hitter role to kind of serving as a second row player sometimes, and said, okay, Anna, we know you can't go full strength right now. We're going to step in here and make things happen. And I'm very proud of the way Iko and Maya both played, Jeff.
Yeah, and they've been an amazing pair for several years now, particularly on that right side block. I've tweeted multiple times. I haven't tweeted it this season yet because I think the joke got kind of old. But it's just like, don't swing left side against these two. You're gonna get blocked. And it just is. It's true. I mean, and that's what they do. Maya Tillman is personally, she's a very quiet and reserved person, but when she gets on the court, her attitude is, I'm going to put a block touch on every ball that gets hit. And she does a pretty good job at it. That's why she's one of the best blockers in the country right now. So, amazing. Nena Mbonu really kind of, so Claire Chaussee moved into the hitting position that Anna DeBeer was in. Nena Mbonu then moves into the hitting position that Claire was in. So she had a good night, seven kills, and a couple of and a couple of solo blocks that she put up. So call her out. PK Peregrine Kong did some great job. Had a couple of really good pivotal blocks at pivotal points in the game, and 6 kills there. And then the other thing to kind of call out, and I think a lot of people are going to be really, if they didn't watch this, they'll be happy to hear this. Kills on the kill stat. Anna Beer had 3. She got up and she did some jumps and she got a couple of swings in. Not a lot, and they're clearly not 100%, but she got a couple of swings going. She had one out of the back row. All these were actually out of the back row, but she got a couple of swings in. So it's good to see her getting that back and getting going.
She had that one thunderous kill.
Oh,
I
my
don't know,
goodness.
in the final set where I thought that she was actually going to break out the side wall of the gym
Yeah.
there. I mean, she hit that thing like an IBM rocket taking off, man.
Yeah.
But so Daryl, let me ask you this: on a team that made the miraculous comeback like this against them, where I was watching this thing and I thought to myself, okay, well, it's going to be a 3-set, maybe a 4-set loss. No, they came back, they found something. What does that say about this team's cohesiveness and, first of all, and most importantly, fight?
Yeah, and I didn't get eyes on this one, but I did check the score afterwards, and listening to you all talk about it sounds a lot like how the Pittsburgh game went and started, where this team looked like who is this? This doesn't look like UofL volleyball. So um to lose the first 2 sets and then come back in 3, I mean, that says a lot, especially because I believe the last 5-setter for them was that Pittsburgh match, and they
Correct.
didn't come out on top. So to come out on top on this one is just probably a huge confidence boost for the squad, and Claire Chasse obviously being a huge part of this team. And so glad that she came back and is gelling the way she is, and making such an impact. Amaya and Aiko and her, all 3 together for as many years as they have been. I mean, you can just see the chemistry, and I'm glad to see that they can get these wins under their belt as they finish up the season. Because, like you said, that next Friday match against Pittsburgh, that rematch, that's circled on everyone's calendar to get some payback. And they're just warming up for that one. I guarantee that. Guarantee is a strong word, but I do have confidence that they can get the payback and finish the season strong heading into the postseason.
Jeff, the Cards now 23-2, 14-1. Georgia Tech not having a bad season at 18-6 and 11-4 in the
It's a good team.
ACC. That's a decent season
Yeah.
indeed.
Just not a good arena, huh?
No, it's a terrible arena.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely the ACC has been Louisville, Georgia Tech, and Pitt in those top 3 spots are the 3 big teams of the conference, and then everybody else is kind of beating each other up in the rest of the standings. Credit Georgia Tech. This is a good team. Michelle E. Collier is a great coach. She's enthusiastic. She gets her team involved. She's got a lot of great talent there. I think they need to have some other talent other than Julia Bergman step up, though. If they're really gonna want to make a deep run, they need some other people to step up, because right now teams, including Louisville, are just keying on Julia Bergman. If you can shut Bergman down, you mostly shut down Georgia Tech. So that's. Go ahead.
Take Bergman anytime on our roster.
Oh yeah. Well, particularly because we have other players to pair with her. Right?
Absolutely.
But when she's on Georgia Tech's squad, there's not that many other big offensive threats that they have. They've got talent, but they're not any that are going to step up and take over a game like Bergman can and does frequently. And that would really benefit them if they could do more of that.
I think also we need to bestow a little credit here on Elena and also Raquel for the job they did out there as well. Sometimes they go maybe just a little bit sight unseen when we do reports on games and talk about the specifics, but certainly 2 very, very essential parts. And I think Elena had a career high in digs maybe in this one. Jeff, they're out there. They get the work done. They're kind of like blue collar workers. They don't get a lot of praise and credit from the majority of people. But you ask anybody on that team how important they are, and they will tell you without a hesitation how strong they are for the success of Louisville.
Yeah, absolutely. And Libro's almost always got short shrift and visibility on a team. And Elena is amazing. She is. I think she's the best libero that we've had at U of L, and that's not to shortchange any of the past liberos we've had. They've had a lot of really, really good ones. So many of them come out of that libero factory over on Bardstown Road in the Highlands, Southern Highlands. But Elena, it should be noted, is not an Assumption product. She is a Mercy product. So credit to Mercy there. But yeah, she's amazing. Raquel coming in, transferring in from USC has, setters tend to get a little more attention, and she's getting a lot. She's obviously, in addition to being just a really good setter, really mobile, she's also just such a bubbly, effervescent personality and presence on the court. I think she gets some attention for that as well. But absolutely, those two are critical players on this team. And the fact that they're almost interchangeable, that both dig and pass well, and they both also set well. Again, Elena Scott was a setter in high school and in club ball, so she's got a lot of experience, a lot of practice at that. So when you've got that, Raquel has to take the dig because it's hit at her. We've got that backup setter on the floor that can do really great things with it. It's so much fun to watch.
And Daryl, wake up and think about this. We're down to our last 3 game matches of the regular season now. Where has this season gone? Obviously the rematch against UNC's up next, and I think we can certainly, take a look at the Cards' 4-set win over them earlier in the year, and maybe learn some things like that. But this one's on their home court, and as it is normally when a very strong top 5 team comes into an opposing arena, the fans and the other team's players are going to get very excited about the possible upset. And then, as we talked about there, the Pittsburgh match in our place, ending at Notre Dame, and that's the one kind of that I wonder about. We had swept Notre Dame earlier at home in 3 sets, okay?
In front of 9,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ending the season up there, I don't know. Thoughts on that?
Well, first off, Paul, time flies when you're winning matches.
For sure.
Yes, it does.
So, volleyball is just one of those seasons that goes really fast. It's one of those games that go really fast, even when you're watching. So every match matters, and and when you're sweeping other teams the way that they are, it really flies by, because that's like an hour and a half versus what you all said last night was 3.5. So it'll be a good opportunity to give North Carolina another L. But they've had 9 sets in the last 6 days, so that's a lot of just swings for everybody this week, and it's going to be a good way to finish out the season. I hope they are not go ahead and like looking ahead towards Friday's senior day, but because you go to another team's house, and you did lose 1 set against them a week earlier, it might be a little bit more of a challenge. I hope not. I hope this one doesn't go to 5 sets. That seems like a little bit of a stretch because I don't believe North Carolina is just a Georgia Tech or a Pittsburgh or even Kentucky, a rivalry game. So you just want to finish out the season strong and get a good bid in the tournament and try to advance on last year's success. So it'll be a good way to close out the season.
And I am hoping for a couple of things here as we prepare to finish this season out and then go into NCAA tournament play. First of all, I hope that we can get Anna DeBeer back to the shape of where she was pre-injury.
Oh, yeah.
She's a major force on that outside hitter position for the Cards, and that she's up there making a difference and doing some things. I see her getting maybe a little stronger each time she gets back out there. Certainly with no postseason conference tournament, I think that's a plus this year, because there's not a chance of her getting, too worn out too early. It takes a while to come back when you've had a knee injury. If you can jump directly from the regular season into the NCAA tournament, I think that probably is an advantage for her, because there's less games that she's got to test that knee on. The second thing here is I hope that the team will kind of take a look at this win that they had last night and say, that's our never quit attitude in perfect example. It It doesn't matter how far we're down, how things are going so far, as long as there's a glimmer of hope, as long as there's a 1/10 of 100% of a chance in there for us to turn this thing around, we're going to do it. And I hope that they can carry that, of course, throughout the rest of the season and into the NCAA tournament as well. I think it's something that I know the fans are fired up and excited about it. Well, let's certainly hope that they can get just as fired up and excited as well, right?
Yeah, our scheduling actually works a little bit fairly well for you. What you mentioned on that last point, we do have that last game at Notre Dame on Wednesday, the 23rd. That's the day before Thanksgiving. A lot of teams have a game or will have a match on Friday after Thanksgiving. We do not. So we get a little bit of an extra couple of days
Nice.
rest before we go into tournament play. So that can be a good thing. Obviously, it can also be a little bit of a bad thing if the team gets too much up in their head about what's going on, what's going to happen with the tournament. But certainly getting the rest. Again, you mentioned Anna DeBeer getting back, becoming more and more to 100% towards her playing. I don't think she's I don't think she's gonna be 100% this season, even in the postseason. But can get closer and can get more effective at that. So. She'll need the offseason to fully heal that up, but I'm hopeful. And you mentioned you were right about Notre Dame at Notre Dame. I'm not particularly. They're not a very good team this year. They're 4-11 in conference, so yeah, they're not that great. 9-16 overall. They're not much of a threat.
Jeff,
Don't get cocky, but
we'll take it from Jeff's exuding confidence that we will have no trouble in Notre Dame.
We shouldn't, don't get cocky, but
if they're
Jeff, you kind of said it. I was thinking about the Thanksgiving thing and how they get to be done the night before and perhaps go home to their families, and it could be a good thing, like just the camaraderie of hanging out with your family for a few days and getting a little bit of a holiday break. But also, you don't want them to have too much turkey and mashed potatoes and come back just bloated or just slow, because turkey makes you slow and tired.
And there is, if you do have a match on that Friday after Thanksgiving, basically you're doing Thanksgiving on the road. Likely if you're the away team. So
hopefully that's calculated and thought out by the coaching staff. They were just like, let's finish our season before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, it's been an interesting challenge in seasons past, I know. So, but this does give them a chance. They'll get back to Louisville Wednesday evening, Thanksgiving Eve, and be able to spend at least a Thanksgiving in Louisville together as a team. I'm sure they'll do. If not, get home to families.
Here's your turkey club wrap. Enjoy with your cranberry sauce. That's all you get.
Well, there's enough Louisville families of players, enough Louisville players, and then families of players that they usually end up, if they're not going home, they have a nice place to have a good Thanksgiving meal. I do know that happened last year, and I presume will happen again this year. So
those things on the right foot then for volleyball as they continue to head toward the end of the season. Certainly wish them the best of luck in the final three, and then a very, very advantageous draw in the NCAA tournament. I'm thinking they still may end up as a 3 or 4 seed in this thing down the road. I think they're 5 seed currently now, but
the last NCAA reveal, even after we dropped down to the ABCA poll 5 position, still had us as a 2 seed.
And it's the NCAA's opinion that matters the most when it comes to the postseason tournament bracket. So
that was the second reveal. Still had us as a 2 seed, even after we.
They still smile kindly upon us as we get ready for tournament play down the road. Yes, it would be nice to be able to see 4 in a row, 2 at the LFSU, and then 2 down at the Yum Center, perhaps.
Yeah, Yum Center is reserved for it. So it would be if we're a top 4 seed. And get the opportunity to host and make it out of that sub-regional, which hopefully we would, then we would indeed have that. I believe it's all set up and ready to go at the KFC Yum Center this year. So
We will move on now to the bad part of the broadcast. I'm not going to call it necessarily the bad part, but the disappointing part of
Yeah.
today's broadcast with Louisville field hockey, who went to Michigan to take part in NCAA first round action, facing number 6 Penn State, a team that they had defeated 2-1 at the end of August, and certainly once you beat a team once, it gets a little more difficult to do it the second time, but you have a blueprint of how you did it. Well, you can throw all that out the window as the Cards absolutely fell squarely on their backsides and dropped a 5-0 decision to Penn State up there. And even after the match, I'm thinking to myself, wow, what happened? Did that just happen? I was stunned and shocked, guys, and honestly, I think probably Coach Sowery was a little bit too, because she kept trying different combinations, and this team basically looked like it had no juice and no energy at all,
Mm.
Daryl.
I mean, it was shocking to look at those stats when you were texting, keeping us updated. It was like score here, score there, score here, and then I look at it, and the Cards haven't even had a shot attempt. It was just like, did the team stay home? Just didn't have a really good showing. Didn't have a good finish to the season at all. So I mean, 5-0. That hurts.
Yeah, hurts
That's
big time.
not that's just not the way I thought this team was going to finish, or a show in the postseason. I know they didn't finish well in the season overall, but just to not even get like a shot attempt off in the first quarter.
Yeah, the Cards did not end the season well, losing their final 5 contests, and Penn State, you have to give them some advantage. They do have some very, very good players and very, very good shooters on their team. Sophia Gladdo and Anna Simon, Gemma Punch, all very, very capable field hockey players for Penn State. And certainly, I think they're a little excited too that they don't have to face Michigan. They'll be playing Albany on Michigan's field in the
Yeah.
second round
Big
of
upset there.
Yeah, another big upset there. But
Mhm.
you've got to think to yourself after the initial shock and disappointment of this, what has been going on with this Louisville team the last 5 games? I got a email from I'm going to call this person a fair weather fan of field hockey, who brought up the conspiracy theory that something internally is wrong with the program.
That's always their idea.
Yeah, and then conspiracy theorists always come up with that. I'm not going to say that's it, but I do think Justine Sarah needs to take a good, hard, and long look at what happened in these final 5 games, and maybe get with the returnees and say, let's see what we can do about turning this around. Okay. Uh, Thoughts on this one, y'all? Jeff?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we've talked for a couple of years about Louisville's challenges with scoring on corners. And it feels like towards the end of this season that expanded to just scoring. I don't know. The offense feels like it's really fallen off. You know, you score, Penn State scores 5 points. That's not an unreasonable score for a field hockey game. But when you're not even getting shots off, like Daryl pointed out, that's you gotta the offense has to step up there. That's kind of where I feel like I'm not a field hockey expert, but that's kind of where I feel like the big missing piece is here.
Penn State obviously came to play, and they were the better team. The Cards will be losing such stellar seniors as Sasha Elliott, of course, the goalkeeper who stepped in this year and had a very, very good majority of the season for Louisville, back between the posts. Maddie Tabor, so important out there in midfield and in the attack offense. And, of course, the Katie Snyder. Katie's been such an integral part of this team for years. And even Kelsey McCrudden. They always put the team first. They always exhibited leadership skills. And they've been great representatives for Louisville field hockey. And now it's time for those juniors and sophomores, I think, Daryl, to kind of step up and say, okay, we're picking up here, the horse cart that's got a wheel missing right now. We need to get this thing back on the road, and we need to continue down the path to success.
Absolutely. And one of my favorite players to watch is India Reed.
Yeah.
She's from Louisville. She I feel like she has a great defensive presence, and I just really enjoy watching her navigate the field. So she's one of those that could step up and, I'm sorry, navigate the pitch. My bad. And be a huge leader for the Cards next season.
Let's just remember that they do compete in the ACC, and when it comes to field hockey conferences in Division One, I think you can say that the ACC is probably the best. Some people would argue the Big Ten with you, but I think that when you take a look at North Carolina, Virginia, and some of the other stalwarts in the ACC conference, hey, you know what? We're pretty good, and yeah, you're never going to get a walkover in the ACC. You're going to face the best of the best anytime you suit it up. So I know Coach will probably have some long hours thinking about this one and getting a plan ready for next year.
Hmm.
But golly gosh, I'm looking at it, and we're already at the noon hour, so we have flown through this broadcast, kids. I'm looking at the clock. I'm like, what? It's noon already.
Time flies.
Time flies when you're winning, like Daryl said earlier, right?
Yeah. And so
I need a shirt that says that.
Yeah, that's great.
we'll go ahead and end things up with some final thoughts then from you all as we get ready for another exciting week of action. Jeff, why don't you start us out with some final thoughts here?
Yeah, going off topic a little bit from our usual fare. I watched yesterday. This is why I wasn't watching field hockey. Sorry. The third event of what has become a series of events in the Indy Autonomous Challenge. I don't know. I spoke about this last year. Was the first event. It was at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. That's the name, Indy Autonomous Challenge. This is an event where college teams write software to run on driverless, like Indy style cars around and racing on a racetrack. So watching, driverless cars. This one was at Texas Motor Speedway yesterday. Driving around Texas Motor Speedway at 150 miles an hour, passing another car.
That's very nerdy.
Right? It totally, absolutely. I'll own that. But yeah, watch that. Fascinating event. Seeing the progress that these teams are making with it. Like I said, this is the third event they've had about every 6 months now since the one in Indy last year. I went to the one in Indy last year with my brother and my nephew. So it's been fun to watch. It's kind of cool. Very nerdy, but kind of cool.
There have been times that I've been on the Waterston Expressway at 4 p.m. where I observed what I thought were driverless cars, or at least those with lack of intelligence.
They might as well be driverless.
Yeah, properly negotiate a motor vehicle.
Yeah.
Daryl, what you got for me here on Final Thoughts?
Mine's kind of random, but I've definitely been on this hill for years. Just being at the game Thursday and sitting behind the cheerleaders. I know I vocalized it to you then, Paul, but somebody has got to advise these cheerleaders on when to cheer and what we are called. We don't cheer when U of L is trying to score at our end of the court. It doesn't make sense to be waving around pom-poms while they're trying to focus on a hoop and putting a ball into a small hoop. I learned that in high school. I think it was a rule that the cheerleaders weren't allowed to wave their pom-poms or make noises when the offense was down at that end. Now, if it's not a rule at this level, do it while the other team is at this end. And be quiet when we are trying to be on offense. It made no sense to me why these cheerleaders are shouting when we're on offense and dead silent when the other team is on offense. And I will die on this hill until the end of time. And the other thing is we are not Big Red. I don't know who told them that we are the Big Red, but I hate it and I want it to stop now.
Can I brag? Jumping on something, another final thought. The volleyball match against North Carolina on Sunday, right, at LNFCU. Somebody pointed out to me that when we called a timeout in the second and fourth, or the second set, and North Carolina was on the bench that is in front of where I do that CARDS cheer, right? that Joe Segula, the longtime coach of North Carolina, was keeping his team out on the court rather than coming over to the bench during the timeout, because apparently they heard the CARDS and couldn't hear each other in the huddle. So he was keeping the team out on the court to be able to do it. I was proud, right?
Yes, that's
Right?
what I'm talking about.
Exactly, right?
Disruption for the
That's
other
what made me
team.
think of it. Absolutely,
We-
because
we-
what I've done, I'll only do it once when UofL's on that end of the floor, because I don't want to yell that into UofL's bench while they're trying to. But when the other team's on the ground, I'll do it twice. So
who is in charge here? And we need to be thinking about these things. That is what I'm talking about, Jeff. You are a true cheerleader.
I think that we should put Jeff in charge of the cheerleading squad from now
should
on
I
out.
start wearing a bow in my hair?
I was so close. Oh yes, make a bubble braid for Jeff and Paul.
Big 6 foot wide bow in my hair. Yeah.
Yep,
like
my
6
bubble
inch
braid
wide.
is- My bubble braid has been threatened.
I contemplated just leaning over the media table and asking these girls, like giving them a heads up about these things, but they would just probably roll their eyes and say, "Who the heck is this girl? Who does she think she is?" But I just need someone with authority to just put a bug in their ear and please stop calling us Big Red. It makes no sense.
And I have my own share of fun with the cheerleader as well during games. They have one kind of head of the cheerleaders on the floor who likes to stick her pom-poms and sheets of paper on my workspace. And I think that's a violation of my space. So I, in turn, when she's turned around to go ahead and do the dog and pony show that they do out there, I will hide those items from her. And when she comes back to look for her pom-poms, they are not there. And her direction sheet has been replaced by a first quarter stat sheet. And so it's the least I can do. But sure.
That was a direction sheet, wasn't it? Next time I'm marking out the Big Red cheer.
Yeah. And I'm going to instead, maybe I'll go ahead and buy a book, Beginning Cheerleading for your group, and set that there.
Cheerleading 101.
And perhaps she could read that during timeouts or whatever. But no. Anyway, just one of those things that if we're going to complain about something, it's awfully great that we're complaining about cheerleaders instead of the performance of the team. I'm happy about that part of it. Okay.
Yeah, agreed.
Final thoughts from me here. I want to just give a little shout out to somebody who has come in and done what we have seen so far as an amazing job as a sports information director for Louisville women's basketball. We were all rather saddened, I think, and disappointed when Nick Evans decided to move to another part of the university and take a position there. But we wonder, who are we going to get in here? Well, we got in Matt Paris. And Matt Paris came to us from Notre Dame, a very skilled and a very veteran type of sports information director, although not for women's basketball. He had some good experience with other sports, and he was able to translate that to the Cardinals seamlessly and without any tough effort at all. I noticed it in women's soccer, how well he ran things as their SID, and he's done a wonderful job with women's basketball as SID so far, even to the point where Jeff Wallace is not teasing him yet, like he used to do with Nick and others beforehand. Jeff was kind of saying like, okay, the man's going to run the show. We're going to see what the man says. And for Jeff Wallace to be that way is refreshing. I have maybe some thoughts in time that Jeff's usual snarkiness and sarcastic bent will come around. But right now, congratulations to you, Matt. You're doing a great job as SID. Keep up the good work, buddy. We're all cheering for you. Okay, that will do it for today's broadcast, and certainly we hope that you'll join us next Saturday at 11 a.m. for the Cardinal Couple Radio Hour podcast, and certainly read the website each day and follow us on Twitter. Everybody have a great weekend, and go Cards.